Namaste, everyone. Welcome back to the third uh, lecture of for today. And our next topic is about interfaith perspective of spiritual care. And we have the honor and pleasure of having Reverend Sifu Anil Morales ji. And so I would like to give a brief introduction. Reverend Sifu is the executive director of Spiritual Directors International and an ordained Zen Buddhist priest, as well as a practicing spiritual director, companion, and motivational speaker. He is a veteran of numerous interfaith and interspiritual efforts over the years, including Seeds of Compassion in Seattle in 2008, where he was one of the chairs, and as founder and executive director of the Compassionate Action Network, he has and network, sorry. He has a master's in theological studies from Harvard University. Reverend Saifu is an accomplished speaker and university lecturer and is a key contributor for the Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation. In a previous life, he was also an executive at Microsoft, where he successfully grew international groups and divisions and provided leadership to multicultural teams around the world. Namaste, Reverend Sifuji, Anilji. I would invite Kailashji to please say a few words.
Thank you, Shivaji, and Reverend Anilji. We welcome you wholeheartedly. And for the class, he is one of the supporters and guides for what HCI is doing. We are basically opening a new chapter in our tradition towards the spiritual care, as we have all learned through our CST course and through the Vedic chaplaincy that we are discussing now with GTU. But in addition to that, in the interfaith world, where the Spiritual International, Directors International plays, where they bring everybody together basically, and they are sharing ideas and thoughts across the different faiths and religion, best practices, and so on. So we've been very much fortunate to have the connection with SDI and with Anilji in formulating our own plans now and in the future. And we appreciate his participating each year with the enlightened lecture for the class. And it also is a relationship long term for many of you who get into the spiritual care domain, perhaps become the members of this organization, study it. We'll go to some conferences. There's a lot of things happening in that SDI. So I welcome SDI and I welcome Anilji to this beautiful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kailashi, and thank you all for welcoming me. So the first thing I want to say is I prefer, and I am a Buddhist, as the introductions indicate. I prefer to have a Dharma dialogue to a lecture. So I say the schedule that I see is probably reversed. Instead of 1 hour lecture and 10 minutes of questions and answers, it's 10 minutes of a lecture and 1 hour of dialogue. And the reason why is I think that our dialogue around these topics elevates us and allows us to collectively move into the space of fulfilling our intentions towards becoming aligned with our Dharma. And so I'll talk a little bit about how my perspective on Dharma and a little bit about myself, and then I'll open it up to questions and dialogue. And I'm quite freewheeling. Happy to take questions and talk about a number of different issues around spiritual care, around the efforts of HCI as far as I know them, and I have supported them now for, I think this is my third year, and coming to all of you. So the first, when I looked at the course syllabus, the first thing that struck me is the focus on Dharma. So I went back at one point, I was an academic, and I went back to my very rusty Sanskrit studies and looked up the word. And of course, it has multiple meanings and multiple contexts, and there's no one definition. But the root of it is obviously to support, to sustain what is established or firm, dharma. What is established or firm, what sustains, which gets very often translated as law, the cosmic law. And we could have a debate for many hours, which we're not going to do, about whether that's an accurate translation or not. But it does imply a certain level of structure. I would say it's also non-structure. It's beyond our ability to describe it. But it is that which sustains us, that which sustains not just us, but the entire universe. So I start with that. And if there is a cosmic law, let us call it a cosmic law, an eternal and inherent nature of reality, which underlies and supports our behavior, our social order that we see in the world, which is very similar to the meaning that we have in Buddhism for it as well, except we interject the Buddha in the middle of that as a conduit, as a teacher of the Dharma. But in looking at it from the Hindu perspective, it's this structure that underlies, supports, sustains. And so we might well ask, what is our job as individuals in terms of Dharma? And is it separate from us? And of course, I would say immediately that there is no separation. In Zen, we often use these words: no separation, no distinction. I would describe it as alignment, that our role is to align with this universal truth, with this higher purpose, which reflects essential being. And essential being, these are all philosophical terms, and I don't want us to get hung up on these terms, but there is a structure there. We can call it the law, we can call it the essence of being, the essence of the true nature of the universe, or Brahman, or however we want to describe it. But our job is to align with it. And when I say align with it, I said it holds and sustains us. And aligning with universal essence means aligning with our true nature. Of course, we're never separate from that true nature. We're never separate from the essence of us, but we think we are. And that's where the problems kick in. And so it's not so much a journey of discovery, it's a journey of remembrance. It's remembering who we are. It's remembering our true essence, which is far beyond these bodies that we inhabit, far beyond this lifetime that we journey through. It's far beyond life and death as we conceive it. It's far beyond our ability to reason it. It's far beyond our ability to think about it. So I'd say I'm going to use the word alignment to kick us off this afternoon, and ask you to think about aligning with Dharma, what that means to each of you, particularly as we engage in a dialogue around it. I'll tell you a little bit about how I see it, and it's alignment with a spiritual form. And the spiritual form is whatever we choose it to be, right? In my case, I'm a Buddhist monk. And so I align with that form. I align with the tradition that underlies it. So things like the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, and a lot of, you might call it the dogma of Buddhism. And in your cases, in all of your cases, there are different religious vehicles that you're using to align with your form. And it's different for everybody, right? Even if we follow a common path spiritually, the manifestation of it for each of us is quite particular, quite individual. It's also alignment with a spiritual practice. I would say that contemplation is a key, is probably the key to aligning with it. And that's meditative practices, it's yoga, it's chanting, it's singing, it's any number of things, actually, it's everything. It's riding your bicycle, it's climbing the mountain, it's our profession as well. It's our partnerships, our family, our friends, how we deal with strangers. All of these are opportunities and invitations into a spiritual practice and into aligning with Dharma, which is aligning with our spiritual form. And of course, that form keeps evolving. It's not static. The universe is not static. It's constantly moving. It's dynamic. It's evolving, and far beyond our ability to capture it. It cannot be captured. So in my biography, you may have heard, I started as an academic of religions, and that I was going to be a professor of religions, and stopped once I got to the PhD level because I didn't have the patience to invest another 12 years getting a doctorate in comparative religions. And so I took a detour into corporate America, and I was an executive at Microsoft for 12 years. And you might say, how was I aligning with Dharma, with true essence, with true practice when I was an executive? And I know many of you are also in various professions where the gap, there might be a perceived gap between the spiritual and our spiritual and religious nature and the work that we do. And that's also an invitation to Dharma. How do we bring our form, our practice into our chosen profession, right? And in Buddhism, there is the Eightfold Noble Path. And so we have things like right speech and right profession and right thinking, all of these that help sustain our practice in the world so that you don't have to divorce yourself when you go to work. You don't have to divorce your spiritual values, but you can bring them into the workplace and let them manifest however they will. If we're properly aligned, it'll show. It'll show. The Dharma that we are fulfilling and inhabiting will be on full display to ourselves and to everyone that surrounds us. Even if our job is to write code and develop software or to sell products of one kind or another, it can be done with mindfulness, intention, and consonance with our spiritual practice and our spiritual being. A lot of this is ethical conduct, right? And we have prescribed ethical precepts that guide us no matter where we are and how, I was mentioning earlier, even in how we interact with strangers, people that we don't know, with difficult situations, with conflicted situations. We are called to practice alignment with the Dharma in everything that we do and in every instance, not just when it's easy, right? It's easy to be in alignment when everything is going our way, right? You have those days where you're on top of the world and you've been meditating and everything is flowing beautifully. And so that's an easy practice, easy alignment with Dharma. The difficult practice is, what's our bottom? Where is the bottom level? How do we align when we're being challenged? How do we align when someone provokes us? How do we align with Dharma and manifest it when it's not easy, when it's quite difficult, when it's quite challenging, or when we don't feel it in our daily lives because we've put ourselves in a position where we're so far removed from it. So there are tools. As I said, there's contemplative practice. There's also surrendering. And surrendering doesn't mean accepting defeat. It just means accepting that we do not, that our illusion of control is just that, it's just an illusion, and surrendering to the mystery of the universe, if you will, surrendering to the unknown, rather than pretending that we can know everything, that there's a formula that resolves all of our longings, that there is knowledge that can help us cement a structure in place that will withstand the variability of the universe. It's reverence, it's community, it's engagement with each other, it's companionship. So I'm a spiritual companion. I run an organization that's almost 7,000 spiritual companions, spiritual directors, spiritual guides. We use many names. And all of those names actually call to the essence of being in relationship and being in community with each other as a way to manifest that essential nature that reflects alignment with Dharma. So those are some of the thoughts. I will tell you a little bit more about me simply as an example. So perhaps some of you will hear echoes of your own lives in mine, and then we'll proceed to questions and answers. And I hope, as I said, that the dialogue that we have will inform most of our session for the next 45 minutes or however long we go. So as I said, from a very early age, spirituality, spiritual practice was my principal interest. I studied it, I practiced it, I took meditation very, very early on. My father, in the heart of India, we would practice our meditation practices. And so I learned, it's not that I learned, as I said, I remembered those essential practices from a very early age. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't subject to the pressures of daily life, meaning I have to accomplish. I have to put certificates on the wall. I have to get degrees. I have to get money in my bank account. I have to get married. I have to have children. I have to have levels of achievement in my life, because that is how society measures me and how I was socialized to measure myself in many ways. And so that's why the detour into Microsoft. And then I was a serial entrepreneur for many years. And it really, the insights that I had into Dharma from a very early age took me 40 years to come back to, right? It's only in my 50s that I really started to align over the last 7 years. I'm 58 now, that I finally have this alignment where I practice what I believe, and where I choose not to take jobs or engagements where I don't have the opportunity to be as fully aligned as possible, as fully aligned as I've described. And so that's why I'm a monk now. And that's why I lead an organization of spiritual directors and spiritual companions. That's why I'm here this afternoon, speaking to all of you, because it's important and consonant with my values, but also with this alignment that I have finally found in myself. So that's a little bit about my journey. And the only reason I mention it is because it can take a long time to remember who we truly are. And very often, as younger people, we have these insights that we then abandon or that we then forget. And it can take us a whole lifetime to come back to them and to realign with them. And so that certainly happened with me, and it doesn't happen with everybody. Some people align very quickly and they proceed from that alignment point to expressing Dharma in their lives every day. And others actually never find it in this lifetime, right? They proceed all the way through, and at the end of their days, they're going, well, what did I truly accomplish? And, of course, that's there's no judgment around it, because all of our paths are different. And we arise and we fall away. In Buddhism, we say we arise and we fall away. All things are impermanent. And so everybody has a unique and different path. But a conversation like the one that we're having today is an invitation to really think about values, alignment, and how to combine various things. Things are not mutually exclusive. You know, people always ask me, should it be A, B, or C, right? Option A, option B, option C. And my answer is always all of the above, because things are not mutually exclusive. You can be a Microsoft executive and be a deeply rooted spiritual practitioner, and a family man and a father and whatever else, musician, dancer, whatever else it is that you practice that moves you. And those things can be made to align and can be made consonant, as long as we find our true purpose and our true meaning. And so I'll say this last thing, and then I'm going to open it up to dialogue, is alignment is something that is very hard to think our way into. Our thoughts and our philosophies can certainly point us in that direction. But alignment with Dharma is something that you can feel. It's undeniable when you feel it. It's not just a breezy wind entering. It's very powerful, and it calls dramatically and deeply. And so it's easier to feel our way into this alignment, particularly through a contemplative practice, particularly through practices that allow us to be silent and listen with every fiber of our being, not just with our ears, but with every fiber of our being, to what the powerful pull of the universe, to the powerful pull of Dharma, which is kind of like a bell that's constantly ringing out there. If we listen to it, we can align with it in many, many different ways. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with all of you, to hopefully to kick us off. And I'm going to invite some questions and some dialogue, and there are no bad questions. And I'm also, as a Zen priest, I'm also happy to sit in complete silence for the next 30 minutes if that's what the universe calls for. So this is a little bit about what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Anilji. That was beautiful. I mean, just the word alignment, it creates so much vibrations with you. And like, we are so fortunate to be able to learn from your experience and wisdom. So yeah, please. I think Rajuji has some questions.
Yeah, namaste, Taifo Anilji. It was interesting discussion, your interesting talk, and I would like to know that which kind of meditation practice that you follow that helps you in the alignment with Dharma.
Yeah. So I'm a Zen practitioner, and of course Zen is the Japanese rendition of Chan, and Chan is the Chinese rendition of the Sanskrit dhyana, right? And it's basically a deep breathing meditation. I would say that that's the essence, is to use the breath to align, and to use deep breaths and the traditional postures, if you can muster them, i.e. full lotus or half lotus, or if you can't because you have physical limitations, you can sit on a chair. And I've been doing this practice every day for 41 years, since I was 17. And usually it's an hour a day for me. Now it can be a lot more than that, because I found it such a powerful way to connect. But I would say at its essence, it's